Ledgers older than parliaments. Seabeds mapped like spreadsheets. A 700-year-old estate that hands its profits to one man the moment his father becomes king. You've heard that Prince William will one day wear the crown, but have you seen the balance sheet behind it? Framing the fortune. Quick truth bomb. Most of the royal riches you've seen in headlines aren't personal piggy banks. They are assets held in trust, managed for the nation or for the office of the monarch, not for private sale. The money that actually reaches the working royals flows through three main arteries. The sovereign grant, public funding for official duties, calculated from the profits of the crown estate. The Duchy of Lancaster, the monarch's private estate, funding the privy purse. And the Duchy of Cornwall, the heir's estate, which William took over when his father became king. Our mission tonight, follow the money without the myths. We'll break the story into 4 acts: the crown's current coffers, William's inherited empire, modernizing royal finances, and the price of pomp and public opinion. And we'll end with the real question: is this bloodline building a financial model that survives the century? Act 1. The crown's current coffers, how the machine works. Start with the crown estate, a sprawling portfolio of urban property, rural land, coastline, and crucially, rights over much of the seabed around England, Wales, and Northern Ireland. It doesn't belong to Charles personally. It belongs to the crown in right of the state. Its profits go to the UK Treasury, and a slice comes back as the sovereign grant to fund official duties, property upkeep, and state visits. Now here's the curveball. Offshore wind. In the last 2 years, developers paid short-term option fees for rights to build vast turbines at sea, creating a temporary profit spike at the Crown Estate, north of £1.1 billion in net revenue profit for 2024/25. That's huge, but it's not permanent. As projects move from options to build-out, fee income falls back toward normal. To avoid a runaway royal budget, the UK government cut the sovereign grant formula from 25% to 12% of Crown Estate profits, steering the offshore wind windfall toward public services while keeping the grant flat at about £86.3 million a year in the near term. 2 more moving parts. The grant currently includes a ring-fenced chunk to fund Buckingham Palace's decade-long resurfacing project. Think electrics, plumbing, asbestos removal, a £369 million refurb spread over years. Oversight has been tightening. The National Audit Office audits the grant, and Parliament's Public Accounts Committee has been taking a keener interest in value for money. Did you know? On a per-person basis, the core grant has been communicated as roughly £1, 29 pence per UK resident in recent years, though that figure excludes separate costs like security, which come from other budgets. The duchies decoded Lancaster and Cornwall in 90 seconds. 2 medieval engines keep the system humming. Duchy of Lancaster. Now, this is the sovereign's private estate, commercial farms, property and financial investments, whose adjusted net surplus funds the monarch's privy purse. Recent accounts put net assets around £648 million and a surplus to the privy purse of roughly £27 million in the last year. Duchy of Cornwall. This is the heir's estate, founded in 1337 to give the Prince of Wales independent income. When Charles became king in 2022, the duchy passed automatically to William. Recent figures showed net assets a touch over £1.1 billion and a distributable surplus of about £23.6 million for the 2023/24 year. Money that covers William's official, charitable, and private costs. He voluntarily pays income tax on his duchy surplus, just as Charles did as Prince of Wales. Surprise stat: agriculture is no longer the big earner. The duchy's top line leans heavily on commercial and residential rents, with long-term master-planned projects like Poundbury in Dorset and Nansleddon in Cornwall generating steady inflation-resilient cash flows through shops, homes, and mixed-use neighborhoods. The Crown's holdings versus private property. Avoid the mix-up. Here's a confusion that fuels bad headlines. Crown Estate, not the King's private property. Profits go to the Treasury. A percentage funds the sovereign grant. Royal palaces like Buckingham Palace and Windsor, state assets. maintained via the grant. Private estates like Sandringham and Balmoral, personal property of the monarch, passed within the family and managed outside the Crown estate. This distinction matters when people say, the royals own billions. The family controls enormous assets for national purposes, but they don't own most of them in the way you own a house you can sell tomorrow. William's future royal fortunes are more about stewardship and income rights than about liquid wealth. Act 2. William's inherited empire, the Cornwall engine. When Charles became king, William became Duke of Cornwall overnight, instantly inheriting responsibility for a 1,100-year income model built on freehold interests across 20-plus counties. The duchy is unusual. It can buy and sell assets, raise finance, develop land, partner with builders, and invest, all to generate a sustainable surplus for the heir. What's inside the portfolio? Commercial and retail. Rental income from high street shops and regional business parks. Residential. Tenancies across England and Wales, many let at market rates. Some at affordable levels in duchy developments. Rural. Thousands of hectares of farmland, woodland, and natural capital. Strategic development. Long-running projects like Poundbury target approximately 6,000 residents by completion, and Nansleden planned approximately 4,000 homes, 800 plus, already completed, that bake in local shops, jobs, schools, and design codes. A lesser-known detail, by ancient right, the Duchy in Cornwall receives bona vacantia, ownerless estates when someone dies intestate in Cornwall without heirs. The Duchy's policy funnels the surplus of those receipts to charity after costs, a tiny line item in the accounts, but a telling one. Forecast lens. With UK property yields and planning cycles where they are, the Duchy's long horizon placemaking strategy is a hedge against volatility. Commercial vacancy spikes hurt less when your town plan pulls footfall to a walkable high street you design. On the flip side, public scrutiny rises when the Duchy seeks to convert farmland for large-scale housing or when rents rise faster than local wages. Stewardship brings reputational risk along with income. William's near-term cash flow and the no endorsements reality, the Duchy's approximately 23 to 24 million pounds annual surplus is the core of William's working income now. As Prince of Wales, he also receives official support via the sovereign grant for specific duties. But if you're imagining celebrity-style endorsements to juice the numbers, that's not how working royals operate. The modern convention is no commercial endorsements and careful management of any private investments to avoid conflicts. In other words, institution first, branding second. Did you know? The Duchy explicitly reports that the heir voluntarily pays income tax on the net surplus after allowable costs, an expectation set by Charles decades ago and continued by William. Purpose as part of the financial plan, Homewards and Earthshot. 2 flagship missions tell you how William will link money to meaning. Homewards, a 5-year program across 6 UK locations, each promised up to £500,000 of catalytic support and a local Homewards lead, aiming to make homelessness rare, brief, and unrepeated. The Duchy has gone further in Cornwall with 24 new homes for people experiencing homelessness, built in partnership with local charities, an example of using estate land to de-risk social housing pilots. The Earthshot Prize, 5 categories, £1 million to each annual winner, plus multi-year support to scale climate solutions. Beyond philanthropy optics, Earthshot gives William a global convening role and a future policy voice without turning the crown into a lobbyist. For the portfolio, Purpose does 2 things. It builds public goodwill around Duchy developments, and it future-proofs the brand against the argument that royal wealth is disconnected from national challenges. Act 3. Modernizing royal finances. Efficiency, oversight, optics. Modernization isn't just a buzzword, it's turning into line items. A visible example, retiring the royal train within the decade to save money, paired with a push for lower carbon travel where feasible. The sovereign grant reports now read more like corporate annual reports. KPIs for travel costs, palace energy use, headcount, and capital projects. Transparency pressure is rising, not falling. Journalists, parliamentary committees, and campaign groups probe everything from palace refurb overruns to the true cost of security. The official line is that more audit and more disclosure equals more trust. The unspoken goal: make the finances boring enough that the argument shifts from what does it cost to what does it return. Speculative but grounded horizon. When William eventually exceeds, he'll inherit the Duchy of Lancaster's income stream and lose the Duchy of Cornwall's. Expect a fresh debate on recalibrating the sovereign grant as the Crown Estate's offshore wind income normalizes. The 12% formula can move again, and past reviews show the system can bend, not break, when profits surge or sink. The transparency tightrope, where reform might go next. 3 levers to watch: grant mechanics. If Crown Estate profits fall back post-win options, does the grant step up, stay flat, or change rate again? Capital projects. Buckingham Palace works should decline after the big resurfacing phase. Expect public appetite for a lower ring-fence capital. Number 1, the worst is done. Independent scrutiny, continued NAO audit and PAC hearings nudge royal finances closer to a public corporation reporting standard. More footnotes, fewer blank spaces. Aha moment. The Crown is edging toward a model where the story is the ledger. Here's what we spent. Here's the measurable return. State hospitality delivered. Buildings preserved. Diplomacy hosted. Charities amplified. If that narrative hardens, fights about cost alone lose oxygen. Act 4. The price of pomp and public opinion. Costs versus benefits. Let's be grown-ups about costs. The sovereign grant has held at £86.3 million recently, but that's not the full picture. Security is funded separately. Travel fluctuates with diplomatic tempo. Maintenance is relentless in historic buildings that predate modern wiring. The palace refurb alone is a decade-long grind. Necessary, boring, pricey. Against that, defenders point to soft power returns and tourism economics. Brand analysts have tried to quantify the monarchy's contribution in billions, counting royal warrants, global media, events, and prestige tourism. Critics counter that visitors come for castles and culture, whether or not a royal is on the balcony, and they argue that total costs across government are higher than the grant suggests. The truth sits in the gray. The monarchy does generate economic activity, coronations, jubilees, weddings, investitures, but isolating the royal premium from London's innate pull is hard. What we can measure more cleanly is the Crown Estate's cash. Money in, profits to Treasury, a defined slice back out as the grant. Everything else, brand value, tourism uplift, is real but fuzzier. Public mood and William's brand. William's long game is less about being a billionaire and more about being a credible steward. The public tolerates pomp when the purpose is obvious. Diplomacy that lands trade, ceremonies that unify, projects that tangibly help. His portfolio choices, housing pilots, climate solutions, mental health work, aim at problems people actually feel. That isn't accidental, it's strategic inoculation. Did you know? In duchy developments, the estate often uses design codes and long-term stewardship agreements to keep shop fronts human-scaled, streets walkable, and maintenance standards high, trading maximum short-term profit for long-term place value. That's not just aesthetics, it's a cash flow philosophy. Risks on the horizon. Property cycles. Higher rates can stall valuations. Rental arrears rise in downturns. The duchy's spread across sectors is a buffer, but not a shield. Planning politics. New towns mean new controversies, loss of farmland, traffic, local services under pressure. Expect louder local campaigns as schemes scale. Expectation spiral. After offshore wind's profit surge, any perception of windfall royals triggers pushback, even when formulas already redirected the money to public services. Transparency treadmill. Each new disclosure invites the next question. That's healthy, if the books are as strong as the story. Synthesis. William's future royal fortunes. Sum it up like a CFO. Income today, Approximately 23 to 24 million pounds annual surplus from the Duchy of Cornwall funds. William's current role as heir. The sovereign grant covers official operations across the institution. Income as king. The Duchy of Lancaster becomes his private income stream. The sovereign grant continues to fund the crown's official work. The Duchy of Cornwall passes to his heir. Assets versus ownership. Crown estate and royal palaces not equal personal wealth. Sandringham and Balmoral are private. The duchies are endowed estates managed for income, not piggy banks to cash out. Strategy. Use long-horizon, place-making projects and mission-led philanthropy to keep public value visible while the ledgers stay clean. Closing argument, why this matters beyond gossip. Because this is ultimately a test of whether a 1,000-year institution can run on 21st century accountability. If William's reign ties money to measurable public benefit, cleaner energy leased from national seabeds, towns that actually work, homelessness reduced in pilot cities, climate solutions that scale, then the billion-dollar bloodline headline becomes something rarer. A monarchy that earns its keep on a spreadsheet, not just a balcony. Final beat and call to action. Here's the question for you. If you could pull one lever on the royal balance sheet, which would it be? Lower the grant with tougher KPIs, expand duchy housing at affordable rents, or hardwire transparency so every pound spent has a public return line next to it? Tell me the lever you'd pull, and why. Because the most powerful fortune isn't a pile of assets. It's a system the public trusts to do more good than glitter.